All right, awesome. Aloha and welcome, ladies. Welcome everyone to either the live Prosperity Roadmap workshop or the replay, whatever it is that you're listening to. I am Jen Mons and super excited to share all of this with you tonight. So in tonight's workshop, we are going to understand the foundation of prosperity consciousness. That is misspelled consciousness through 5-element wealth. We are going to clarify and amplify your why. So why are you even here? Why does this even matter? We're going to dig a little bit deeper. We're going to reveal your money origin story. So your ancestral money origin story and your blocks to receiving. So receiving financial freedom, support, love, confidence, the whole thing. You're in the right place if you struggle with receiving support, love, money, even compliments. You believe that time and money keep you from doing the things that you love. You hear yourself saying things like that. And you're overwhelmed, exhausted, might be an overgiver, a people pleaser, perfectionist, the whole kind of thing. So that is what we're doing tonight. I'm not going to go into who I am because you guys should know who I am. I'm a life coach for coaches and mentors. I'm a mentor for coaches, healers, and leaders through 5-element wealth. It's one of the things that I love to teach: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and the 5th element, which is financial. So tonight we're going to really focus on that 5th element, but we're going to start to open up and see that it actually has a lot to do with intimacy. Into me, I see. It's a lot of sacral chakra work, which is the feminine archetypes, and it has to do with financial freedom and just receiving. So that's what we're going to go through tonight. So it's a little bit of a different spin on conversations around wealth and well-being. So I am going to drop the link for this ebook because I'm not sure that it was in your email, but I'm going to open it here and we'll just screen share here. So just give me one moment. Okay, so this is the ebook that I'll be happy to send you guys after today if you want to dive a little bit deeper. Tonight, we're going to create your prosperity roadmap. So if you guys have listened to my podcast, you probably know what I think prosperity is, or what I share that prosperity is. And in my own words, prosperity is embodied trust. Because from a place of trust, we open up to receiving the abundance in life. And so I teach from a place of inviting you into trusting yourself, trusting your body, trusting your intuition, trusting in a higher power, whatever that is for you, and trusting that you were born to create, you were born to share, and you were born to prosper. And every spiritual teacher, whether we're talking about the Bible or the Tao or the Buddha, they all talk about prosperity in some form. And so it's why I love this word. Prosperity is really an energy of giving and receiving. So to me, it's like a tree or a spring from the earth. And if you think of like a water spring, it's just bubbling and it's constantly being resourced from the earth and supplying water into a spring. Or you think of a tree like you out in nature that just grows without us doing anything. It doesn't need fertilizer. It has sun, it has light, it gets water, and it gets nutrients from the soil. So really just thinking in terms of that energy, it's a little bit of a more feminine energy where one of my newer words that was used just before the call from Deborah Lee is being resourced. So it's being able to give back from a place of being resourced, whether this is your time, your talents, your gifts, love to your family, your aging parents, your children, your significant other. It's the ability to give from a place of being resourced. So that is what we are going to step into tonight, is the consciousness of prosperity, giving from a place of being resourced. Tonight, we're going to transmute your money origin story. We're going to dig deep to some of the money blocks that show up around money, but also intimacy and receiving. So some of you shared that you're here to discover your relationship or to uplevel your relationship with money. Others, it's receiving. You may also notice that you struggle with areas of intimacy in your life. We could even go a step further, and we could say that there's also a component of like nourishment in our physical health in all of this. And tonight we're going to get clear on your why, because another thing that prosperity allows us to do is amplify our voice and our values in the world. So if we say, I value organic food, and then we buy more organic food, supply and demand organic food then becomes more available to everybody. And so everything that we value in our life becomes more available to everyone, because that's what we're choosing to invest in. We're going to talk a little bit about aligning to the frequency of wealth and why it's important to embody prosperity consciousness through 5-element wealth. And I don't know anybody else who's speaking about your relationship to money in this way, but I really believe it's important to build the foundation like a tree, like planting roots and growing from the ground, from the inside out, to be able to give from a place of being resourced. So it's that idea of we can give when we are fulfilled. Because a lot of times as women, we're doing so much for so many people, whether we're mothers or partners, or it's in our work. And I hear these words all the time. I'm exhausted, I'm overwhelmed, I'm overextended, and I do all the work, I take care of everything. Those are the kind of things I hear all the time. And so this is an invitation to really just notice like what our true reality is and where we can create little shifts to really just be curious about like, why do I believe this? Where is this behavior coming from? And how does it create an impact on my ability to receive and my capacity to receive? Okay. So I'm Jen Mons. I'm a well-living expert, an entrepreneur, a mentor for coaches, healers, and leaders. I've supported many, many women over 15 years of coaching, everything from doctors, lawyers, high-level executives, Top Gun flight instructors, to performers and other coaches through 5-element wealth. I'm a health coach, life coach, meditation guide, detox specialist, energy healer. Subconscious reprogramming is one of my superpowers that I love to do. And most of my clients see results like improved health, reduced stress, new jobs, financial freedom, alignment to their soul, more fulfillment, and even the soulmate connection. That was one that was just kind of coming in the past couple of years. So these are the 5 steps we're going to do today. We're going to understand prosperity consciousness and 5-element wealth. We're going to amplify your why, awaken your money origin story, redesign your beliefs through the reticular activating system, which we do through journaling. And we're going to create an aligned action and roadmap. So before we begin, I just invite, we're going to presence, because that helps us to be grounded, which helps us to receive more. So I invite you to put your pen down, uncross your legs, sit in your seat or on the floor, wherever you are. And whenever you're ready, close your eyes. So if you're listening to the recording, of course, not if you're driving, and just start to relax into the seat. And so we're going to begin with the breath. So today we're going to do full body breath, and we're going to do that by imagining that we're breathing in through the feet And as we breathe, we're receiving from the earth. We're receiving light and oxygen and life force energy. And so we're going to follow that breath. You can imagine like little pathways through your nerves or your veins, whatever feels good for you, or just roots growing up into your body and following it from the knees to the hips. And I'm going to guide you through this to the solar plexus, to the heart, all the way up to the crown. And then we're going to exhale back down. So that's a full body circular breath. So we're going to do a little visual scan while we breathe. Now, the breath is the belly comes out, so it puffs out on the inhale. And then on the exhale, it contracts. So on the inhale, the breath expands. And on the exhale, the belly contracts. And so this is really a practice of breathing in and out of the belly rather than the chest. So it's going to take some slowing down to be able to do this full body breath in one breath. And so the invitation is that as you breathe, you're visually scanning and watching the breath come all the way up the body. You're receiving. So it's probably going to take about 5 to 6 seconds. And then as you exhale, you're kind of washing away and letting go of the stress. So let's do one 4-count box breath to begin. Hands on the belly. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold. 3, 2, 1. Open the mouth and exhale to release. 3, 2, 1. Continue breathing. The belly expands on the inhale. And then contracts on the exhale. And so on this next breath, imagine breathing in through the soles of your feet. So breathing in for 5 to the knees, 4, the hips, 3, chest, 2, head, 1. Exhale back down for 5, all the way back down, 4, 3, 2, 1 to the feet. 2 more just like that. Inhale through the feet. Imagining receiving life force energy coming into your body all the way up to the crown. And then exhale back down into the earth. Intentions of receiving on the inhale through the feet all the way up to the crown. Belly expands and rises on the inhale. And then exhale, relaxing into your seat just a little bit more on the exhale. And so slowing down your breath. Belly rising on the inhale, contracting on the exhale. So the invitation is to imagine a time in your life when you felt really abundant and resourced. You just had a really good feeling. Maybe it was a job offer or a relationship. Maybe it was something that you purchased. Maybe it was a place, like you went on vacation somewhere or you traveled somewhere. Just want to invite you to recall that moment of just feeling really full, loved, held, taken care of, nurtured. It doesn't have to be like this big thing. It could even just be a compliment that somebody gave you. It could be a raise at work or becoming a mother, entering a very loving relationship with somebody. And I want you to find the place in your body that feels abundantly full and fulfilled. It feels nurtured and safe and loved. One of those words probably resonates with you. Resourced. And just notice what it feels like in your body to feel abundant and resourced. And remember to imagine receiving on the inhale, so receiving more of that feeling, that abundance. And then as you exhale and you contract the belly, relaxing more into that receiving. So the receiving is the first step, the first initiation or invitation, and the relaxing into the receiving is the second. So just notice in your body where that feeling is. Notice anything you can about it. A temperature, a texture, a sensation. Is it in your heart or your belly? Maybe your hips, your shoulders, maybe even your feet. So I just want you to sit in this feeling of being taken care of, resourced, and just loved just for sitting here, not doing anything, but just for being. And just allowing yourself to receive on the next breath, just a little bit more of that feeling. And as you exhale, relaxing a little bit deeper into that sensation of just feeling full. And then start to bring a little movement into your body. Maybe you shrug the shoulders a little bit, or you release the ears to the shoulders. Maybe you twist a little. Just kind of notice, like, how does your body feel right now? So still with the eyes closed, are you carrying a lot of tension? Do you feel open, or do you notice that you're discerning? Do you feel relaxed? Or are you in your thoughts? And just letting it be wherever it is, but taking note of how you feel in this moment. And so in this moment, however it is that you feel, so we have the feeling of feeling full, and then we also are just kind of noticing like what's happening with the body and the mind. So I want you just to imagine like taking this feeling. So just noticing where if you feel tightness, or you feel like you're in your thoughts, just kind of noticing that for a moment. And just imagine placing your hand over that area, or either physically or just using your imagination, and just kind of like reaching and just grabbing. It's like picking up a leaf off the ground, just kind of grabbing that little place that doesn't feel present, and just kind of, we're just going to kind of like remove it from the body in this moment, and just releasing it and just thanking it for being here, but knowing that if it wants to, it can come back. But right now we're here to be present and to welcome the feeling of fullness. And so taking your right hand on the heart, your left hand on the belly, one more deep breath with the intentions of receiving and just being present with the belly expanding. And then exhale to release. Maybe you need to shake it out a little bit or move, but our physical body is really the first kind of gateway to, like, our body language speaks to how open we are to receiving. So just notice if you need to take a moment to move around a little bit and just kind of open up a little more. And if you're feeling really open or curious to being open, whenever you're ready, open your eyes and just kind of open your heart a little bit and shrug your shoulders back. This body language is like, I'm here to trust, I'm here to receive, I'm here to listen. All right, so what is prosperity consciousness? Before we even begin tonight, the ladies here shared with me why they were here, but let's talk about what it is a little bit deeper. It's an energetic shift. So those of you that have worked with me before, which is everyone here, you know that I talk a lot about energy. I believe that food and love and words are energy, and guess what? So is money. So this is an invitation to allow an energetic shift in your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions through awareness. And this is probably stuff you've either heard me say before or you've heard somebody else. I talk a lot about the reticular activating system. I'm a really big fan of journaling. We do journaling in every course that I offer. In fact, I have a journaling only membership. And reticular activating system, what does that mean? It's really redesigning the neurological pathways in our brains to shift our perception of our reality. So we can actually, it's not bypassing, and it's not like, quote, law of attraction type thing. It's really more like becoming curious about a different way to look at things. So if you've probably seen before in your life, two people going through a similar experience and responding in very different ways. So we get to choose, we get to take ownership of how we're going to respond to everything in our life. And I'd really like to invite you to shift into an idea that you are the source of your time and your money. And without going too deep into that, there's really kind of two different ways for my science people. There's like the Newtonian method, and then there's the Einstein method, where there's a limited amount of time, or we can choose to say that we are the source of time. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're waiting for your loved one that you haven't seen in 6 months, and their flight is delayed like an hour. That's probably going to be the longest hour of your life, right? But on the other hand, if you're getting ready to do something really big, or that sounds really scary, maybe you're getting ready to, like, I don't know, go someplace fun, or you're getting ready to kind of take the leap in something, and you have an hour until you do that, that hour might seem like it's going to go by pretty quickly. Or if you burn your hand on the stove and it hurts for 5 minutes, it probably hurts, pretty bad for 5 minutes. Or I think of like a kid at the playground who has to go to the bathroom, and you tell them, wait 5 minutes. That's going to seem like a really long 5 minutes to them. So in other words, what I'm saying is we get to choose our perception of time. We also get to choose our perception of money. We are the source of money because we decide what we're going to do to receive money, what that work or that service is going to be. And we decide, we come into agreement with what we're willing to accept for our service. So you could substitute the word love into this equation too. We decide by how we show up and how we respond, how we are loved and how we give love. Like, we always get to choose in that moment how we're going to respond and how we're going to receive, or how we're going to give. So that makes us the source of that relationship. This prosperity consciousness includes having awareness and resonance to what I call 5-element wealth, which you can see in the tree picture. What I really truly believe that our well-being consists of physical health, which I call body wisdom. This includes nourishing yourself properly. It includes reducing stress. It includes movement. The mindset piece, which is what we just talked about, shifting what you believe to be true about your life and how you choose to respond to what happens in your life. Emotional empowerment, which I really like to call emotional freedom, because when you do work, when you do shadow work, when you work through the challenging things, which is really the only way to overcome them, we don't really change or grow if we avoid them, but we become more free. because when we go into the thing that scares us the most, we realize it doesn't have power over us anymore, which is really freeing. Spiritual growth, spirituality. So that might look different for each of you. It could be your commitment to your personal development, your connection to higher self, God or source energy, but really digging deep into like, what did my soul come here to do? How do I want to show up in the world? And what do I want to share with the world? And then lastly, the fifth element, which is what we're going to dive a little bit deeper into today, and all of these are about receiving, is financial freedom. So financial freedom, it allows us to be resourced so that we can receive and we can give from a place of being full. We can be paid for doing the thing that we love. We can come from a place of joy. We don't have to hustle. We don't have to work hard. We don't have to earn anything. Like we can just create something. We can show up, we can do something, and we get to decide how much we want to receive for that. Somebody can make us an offer and we get to decide whether or not that's aligned for us. This tonight is really an invitation to tap into the sacral chakra. The sacral chakra, for those of you that are new to chakra in the energetic body, it's the feminine chakra. It's the chakra of joy, intimacy, creativity, prosperity, and receiving. And so that's where we create life in our body. That's why that's the creativity and joy. It's also where we experience pleasure in our body. I shared earlier that prosperity consciousness is an invitation to the embodiment of trust, and that vulnerability is the gateway to transformation, where really the miracles begin to unfold. So here's the thing. Usually the thing that you're being asked to lean into is the thing you're resisting the most, always. But the thing is that your mind is telling you that it can't happen. And if you're feeling scarcity, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're feeling overextended, or you're feeling lack, let's just say lack of anything, lack of love, lack of support, lack of money, the only way to break that is to do the opposite. So it's to lean into trust, because the opposite of scarcity is trust. So if you're feeling lack of money, then the only way to break it is to get super clear on, first of all, your relationship to money, how you choose to receive it and how you choose to give it. And I'm going to encourage you to be an investor and not a spender, because an investor is an energy of like intention. A spender is just like, little here, 100 here, 100 there, just like not really consciously thinking about what you're doing. And it's okay to do that every once in a while if that's like a thing for you, but most of the time it's a sabotaging behavior. Investing doesn't matter what the amount is, it's consciously embodying the energy that you're choosing to invest in. It's a totally different energy. So all in all, the tree represents abundance in health, wealth, and love, which is what most people are seeking. And let me see if I can get this. Okay. So what is 5 element wealth? I just talked about that. I'm not going to go through it again. The physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial freedom. So now I'm going to invite you guys to consider in your life these 5 different areas, because this is really the foundation. This is the foundation because in body wisdom, there's your body vibrates at a certain frequency based on the food you eat, based on the emotions that you experience, based on the people you surround yourself with. And later on, when we go through the prosperity course, we talk about the frequency of wealth, and that has a vibrational frequency, and it's very different than scarcity. It is a frequency of trust. So that's why all of this matters. So take a moment to just think, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate yourself in the following areas of where you are now. So ask yourself, how is my physical health? How is my mindset? How emotionally empowered do I feel? Do I take ownership of my emotions, or do I project, or do I hide? What is my relationship to financial freedom? And what is my relationship to spirituality? Whatever that is for me, to God, to source. And then next to it, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you want to be? You probably want to be a 10 in all of them, but what's like realistic at this time? Where would you like to be a month from now? And so take the one with the lowest number or the biggest gap and circle it, because that's where you want to start. Because if you come to me and you tell me that I want to be, I want to make $100,000 a year, and you're sabotaging your physical body, then that's not going to be sustainable. You're going to be up and down and all over the place. If you tell me that you want financial freedom, but you do not take ownership of your emotions, you don't have that energy of being really sovereign and clear and just having complete ownership, then your relationship to money is going to be the same way. It's going to be there sometimes and then not other times. And then the next piece is, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your relationship, or how do you feel you show up with vulnerability and intimacy, with trust, with receiving and nourishment? And go ahead and type these in the chat for the ladies here. I'm just curious, like, what's coming up for you guys. So write down what the biggest opportunity is for you: physical health, mindset, emotional, financial freedom, or spirituality. And then also, what is the biggest opportunity for you between vulnerability and intimacy? You could even break those apart if you want to. I really see a resonance in both those words. How good am I at trusting myself or others? Or do I trust others more than myself? How open am I to receiving? Do I think I have to take care of everything? Do I think I'm here to save everyone? Am I the one always trying to keep it all together? And then with physical health, like, am I taking care of myself? Am I moving? Am I eating well? Am I drinking water? And if you want, you can type it in the chat. I'm not going to share the chat in the replay, but I'm just curious, what is the area that you are ready to, or that's asking you for attention? Because this is the foundation. These are like the roots of the tree. Financial freedom and receiving, says Christina. Yeah. Those go hand in hand. Okay. So by now you have your area of, like, that's kind of just speaking to you. Like, again, if you prioritize your well-being, your physical health, you have done work around your emotional well-being, which I know a lot of you have. If you feel really connected to your spiritual growth and your spiritual path, and you feel maybe you don't have it, you don't do it right all the time, but you're in check with yourself. You have awareness of, like, what is my mindset? How do I notice I show up in the world? And you can be in a place of, like, not being attached. So you can be in a place of, like, witnessing the things that happen in your life without making it about you, without making yourself wrong, without projecting or blaming somebody else. And you're in a space of curiosity, then that's probably why you're here. You've probably done a good amount of work which means you're open to receiving this fifth piece, which is the financial freedom. It can also be just receiving support. It really just depends on what phase of life that you're in. For those listening, it could be, you may be in a place of maybe you already have financial freedom, but you don't have a really deep, loving, intimate relationship, and that's what you're seeking. So you could substitute either one of those. Maybe you have a great marriage partnership, maybe you have a great job and you feel really resourced, but your health is not doing that well because you've put other things first. And now, in order to have that true, full feeling, it's time for you to receive through nourishment. So you can really substitute any of these words just depending on where you are. So once you have clarity on what that particular area of your life is, which, let's see, Kate said mindset, trust, and receiving. And Deborah said physical, financial freedom, trust, and nourishment. So you can see their relationships. You can start to see the relationships here. The mindset, learning how to trust yourself, because when we trust, we open to receive. And Deborah Lee's talking a little bit more about the physical piece and the nourishment as it also relates to trust and financial freedom. So you guys are getting that receiving comes with trust, which is super awesome. Okay, so why are we here? Okay, so now we know kind of, we get the clear whole picture of what prosperity consciousness is. We understand that there are different elements that go to kind of planting the seeds. Let's just say planting the seeds for prosperity, that those were the 5 seeds. And now we have this area that needs a little bit more nurturing. But why do we even care? Because it's a lot easier to just sit back and do nothing and be comfortable. And most people will choose that. They like to be comfortable. But you're here because you're curious about expanding. So we're going to dive. You've probably done this before. We're just going to revisit this because it shifts all the time, especially as we open to receiving more. This should come pretty quickly because I know all of you, at least here in this live call, have done something similar before. We're just going to regroup and write down your 5 core values. So maybe travel, maybe health, maybe connection, maybe joy. Just write down the 5 things that mean the most to you that you want to embody. And feel free to share in the chat if you'd like. Next, I want to invite you to write down your skills and your roles. So I'm putting them together because you may relate to one or the other. So your roles would be something like, I'm a teacher, I'm a performer, I'm a coach, I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I'm a community member, anything like that. So any kind of space that you take up in the world and you identify with kind of the skills that you share with others, or I like just the space that you take up. And if you relate, or you can do both, if you relate a little bit more with the skills, like teaching could be a skill, listening, cooking could be a skill. Maybe you kind of associate your role as a mother as like a cook. Or, just kind of thinking, maybe you associate your role at work as a leader or a teacher. Or maybe you're somebody who is the creator at work. You're super creative.
I'm just curious, Jen, if you don't mind me asking. So, because I did have I gave me access to the ebook, so I struggled with this before too, but like the 5 core values. So would you be willing to share what yours are?
Yeah, absolutely. Community, which is also connection, health, adventure, which is also joy, transformation, which could also be growth, and then God. So God is like divine energy for me. Those would be my values.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you can kind of like adventure, joy, and travel kind of go together. It's just kind of like, whatever that is. Sometimes the spiritual and the transformation kind of go together too. It's just this idea of like higher, like there's a higher energy that I've created from, and I'm just continually, evolving to live that sort of representation of my truth or my soul. And then connection, community, and family kind of go together. So it kind of just depends, in that moment what the word is. But to me, it's like the connection is the community, is also the family, because I think you can have soul family too. So characteristics. So these would be things that you could ask other people how they see you. So if you've never done this before, what are words that you've heard people say? And if you don't know words that people have said or complimented you, then this is already an opportunity of where you can listen to compliments and receive them. So characteristics could be like, some of the ones that I usually get are trustworthy, loyal, fierce. Those are like probably the top 3. Nurturing is another one that I get. An exercise that you can do is you can ask 5 people to, looks like my light just burned out, to like characteristics of yourself, and then make a list and circle the top 5. It's really fun to do. But what characteristics do you see yourself as? And then lastly, what are your talents and passions? So usually what you're passionate about is a talent because it comes easy to you. So it could be dancing, performing, teaching, holding space for people, coaching, cooking, gardening, playing an instrument, doing yoga. So just kind of, there's a little bit of a difference, I guess, between talent and passion, but I just want to invite you to, we're really kind of honing in on like, what are the things that make you, that you're really passionate about and that you love, that make life worth living for, basically. And so just take a look at the list and notice like what things that you wrote down feel really good and circle them. And then drop those in the chat. It doesn't really matter what category they are, just drop a couple words that felt really good to see. Okay, so now you have a sense of like who you are, and I invite you to share in the chat if you want to, but this just helps to clarify and just remember, like, what is this life about? What is my life story? What am I here to do? What do I enjoy doing? So the next question is, we're going to take it up a level, and this is where we amplify. So I want to invite you to journal. If money were no object, what would you do? Would you travel more? Do you see travel as one of your core values? Do you see adventure as one of your characteristics? I'm hoping that you're starting to see a theme that shows that there is some alignment in your life. Does your performing bring you joy? Would you just getting really clear on, like, if money were no object right now, what would you do differently? Because one of the blocks and beliefs that comes up has to do with who we will become if we experience more financial freedom. And the truth is, you really become more of who you are. The next question is, if I had the financial freedom, what would change in my life? And how would I spend it differently? And I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. I'm going to actually go through the list of these questions, and I'm going to invite you to journal on them, and we're going to put on some music because some of you are going to go through some of them faster. The next question is, if I had an abundance of wealth, so you can substitute love, you can substitute support, because it's an energy. How would I give back? But most of you, 2 of you said financial freedom. So if you had an abundance of wealth, how would you give back? Because it's super important to know, to connect us to our higher purpose, our higher self, to connect us to the community, to the world. If you don't have a bigger why than yourself, then it's going to be really hard to stay motivated and have that intention. And lastly, why is this important to you? I'm going to put on some music and invite you all to journal around this. Feel free to share in the chat, or if you'd like to speak, you can raise your hand or unmute yourself. I'm just going to put on a little music and allow you guys to finish these questions. And so just finishing that up wherever you are. One of the things I've always thought is I might just hire a really wonderful private chef. That that was just something that kind of came to me. I mean, I would travel, but I already travel. So the question is, are you already living the way that you would live if you had more financial resources? So just kind of noticing that too. Is anybody willing to share just kind of their why or anything that came through? Does anybody want to? You don't have to. So I'll just share, and you've probably heard this on my podcast. I was in a business conference in 2018 with my business coach, and she had an opportunity for us to share, to donate to one of her favorite organizations called Unstoppable. One of the things I'm really passionate about is maternal prenatal health, because I had a near-death experience with the birth of my first daughter. And with what I had, there's like, it's the number one cause for death in mothers, and it happens a lot in lower socioeconomical areas. And so this was an opportunity to contribute to an organization that supported prenatal health in Africa. And African American happen to have a higher I guess statistic for what I had, which is called HELP syndrome. So I just remember I donated like a couple $100, which at the time felt like a lot because I wasn't making super great money. And a woman stood up and donated $10,000, and I just like cried because I thought, well, I would love to do that. I would love to feel like I actually created a bigger impact with donating $10,000 versus my couple $100,000. And I felt so much grief because I couldn't do more than I did in that moment. And I started to really understand why it was important for me to receive more income, because it was going to make me more of who I was, which is a person who creates opportunities for other people. And so that was kind of the moment for me. So I don't know if any of you have something that you'd like to share about what you would do differently, or who you would give back to and why it's important to you that you want to share. Does anybody want to share? Go ahead, Christina.
Yeah, I can go. I hadn't written this down. I thought of it, but I definitely said if I made X amount of money, I would always fly first class and I would have a maid. Absolutely. Like I do not, I do love to cook. Do not love to clean. I'll be the first to admit it. And then, I would say like giving back. So for you guys obviously don't know what I do, but I work with a lot of like attachment style stuff. So I work with a lot of people in relationships that are not serving them. And so I see a lot of women staying in relationships because of the financial dependence that they have on men. And so I haven't necessarily been in that position myself, but I'm on like the front lines of it and I see it. So like, it is kind of like a part of my mission to empower them to be like, no, like you can make this money yourself. So it's just really important to me because it's also keeping them in that really unfulfilling relationship, which we know like our relationships are one of the most important things that we have. So I would say that's for me. So yeah, thanks.
Oh my God, amazing. Like that is big, super important work. I saw Deborah Lee like shaking her head like, yes, yes, yes. And I could just think of so many people who, yeah, I mean, so see, do you see what I'm saying? Like this creates a ripple effect. Like when Christina is resourced financially, she's going to create more opportunity for more women to work on their relationships so that they don't stay in a possibly abusive relationship or it's not serving them in some way, in some way, which is even more empowering to more women. So super awesome. Go ahead, Deborah Lee.
Christina, just gonna say, right when you hit that moment about the dependence, and it's so funny. So if money were not an object, yeah, that would be my first thing, is to not be codependent financially. That has been my past. It's been drilled in me culturally, even subconsciously, without realizing it, that the pattern in all my relationships have kind of represented that. And I noticed this only recently, that when I wanted to do more, I couldn't, because I realized I was dependent on someone else. And again, subconsciously, even previously in marriage. And then financial freedom for me, what would change is, first, I'm still in college debt, so that still hangs over me. Um, and most of my friends and siblings have already paid it off, but I never had the traditional conventional job that could pay it off consistently. So that is a block there. How would I spend it differently? Well, I'm sure once I have that debt off, and while I'm taking the prosperity course, I think I'll open the what is it, RES, the new pathways of how I could be more creative with how I would spend it.
So what is it? So I'm hearing already the backpedaling. So put yourself in a place where money is already resourced. It's already abundant. What are you going to do with it?
Create travel experiences for myself and loved
So
ones.
you're going to travel. Yeah.
That would be my biggest thing, but also my biggest thing is having a creative space for myself, whether
Yeah.
it's a studio or
Super important. I love that you're saying it. It's exactly how I work in my business. I get financially resourced, and then my creativity is like out the roof. Like I start downloading so much and creating because I feel like there's a cushion and I feel nurtured. It's all sacral chakra. And then I feel resourced. And what happens when I feel resourced is that my creativity is like next level. And so I hear you, and that's why it's super important. Kate, I actually remember you asking me the question similar to that at our retreat, and that was my response to you. I don't know if you remember me saying that, but we had a conversation around that, and I just shared that that's one of the ways. And so creativity could be, it might mean that you cook or you nurture more, you hold more space. Christina maybe gets creative about what that type of work for women is going to look like, or adding something new to a retreat. But creativity is absolutely one of the ways. So Kate, you're welcome to share. You don't have to, there's an invitation to share.
Yeah, no, it just occurred to me, well, I wrote, I would treat myself better. And then specifically if money were no object, like redoing my condo, I bought this a couple of years ago, and I remember my daughter saying, Mom, because it was such a downsize from my house, and it wasn't homey at all. It had been rented. It was just like bare bones, no shelving. And she said, I can't believe you didn't think more of yourself, or you didn't think enough of yourself to buy something, like to buy something that was more me.
Yeah.
And it hit me hard because I was already struggling, but it was true. And I think with money, I just always put myself last, because like I wanted to get it painted in here, but I haven't made the effort to get a painter, or, because it just all seems not important. So making those, if money was no issue, I think it'd be easy for me to pick up the phone and get someone in here to help me. Just do it.
Okay.
And I love your chef.
So I want you guys to listen to each of the words that you said, right? Like, if money was no issue, I would do this, because the thing is money's just reflecting back to you the part of you that needs attention, that is asking for attention. So Kate says, if money were no object, I would take care, like do more for myself. So here's my invitation. Deborah Lee says, if money were no object, I would have more creativity. I would travel more. My invitation, because if you remember how I started, was that you're the source of your time and money. So in order to open up to receiving, everything aligns to the frequency that you're living in, which some people call law of attraction. Maybe you're even into that. I don't really like to label things. I just know it's true for me. I know that everything's an energy. Energy vibrates and it attracts or it repels. So Kate, my invitation for you, and this is what you write down next, is the thing that you said. Write down, what is one thing I'm willing to do towards that, to live in that already. So Deborah Lee's looking to be creative. Kate's looking to do something for herself, because money wants to be used. It wants to be loved. And it's not going to come to you if you're not going to, if Kate says, if I have more money, I'm going to do something for myself. Well, if you're not doing anything for yourself, it's not going to want to come to you because you're not using it in the way that you said you would. If Deborah Lee says, if I have more, I'm going to travel more, or I'm going to open up to creativity, we'll start that energetically now, planning, dreaming, creating that next trip, whatever it is, because then it will come in because it knows where it's going to go. And for Christina, if she's talking about, I really want to empower women to not be codependent on men and stay in unhealthy relationships, well, maybe that's where we start. Maybe we start creating, like, speaking about that, sharing about that. Maybe you already do. Maybe there's an opportunity to up level that experience, get a little deeper into it, because I have seen so now I'm in my mid 40s. I have seen so many people stay in unhealthy relationships, marriages, because they are codependent financially, specifically women. And around 20 years, when the kids get older and, then they decide the relationship doesn't work anymore, and then they got to go out and get a job. And I've seen that happen many, many times. And it happens. So that's super important work. So I want you to write down right now, what is the thing that you're going to start right now as if the money were already there? Because it's really important, because you believe it's not there, but it actually is. You're just not seeing it and receiving it. There's already clients for you, Christina and Deborah Lee and Kate. There are already people ready to paint your house. Like, all of that is available. So I want you to write that down right now. So we're going to move into the money origin blocks because we only have a limited time together tonight. And there are six. So there's six main reasons that I came up with. I'm sure there's more, as to why we believe that we don't have the support, the love, the money that we think we should have in order to travel more, in order to do this work, in order to live comfortably, do things for myself. Right now, honestly, we're using money as an excuse because it is available. So let's dive into the 6 origins of money blocks. Number 1, working hard equals success. And I'm going to supply a list. I'm going to go through these in general, and then I'm going to go through the whole list, and we're going to dive deep into that. Number 2, money's not spiritual. Number 3, money is evil. Maybe you witnessed, greediness or something. Maybe you have certain beliefs. Number 4, about wealthy people. Wealthy people are greedy, or they only care about themselves. Number 5, maybe you have scarcity or failure around previous debt, college debt, divorce, lawsuit, anything like that. And then number 6, maybe you are telling yourself that you have beliefs and values like, I just don't need money. I have everything that I need already, type of thing. So I am going to go deeper into this. There's another book which is kind of gonna go a little bit deeper into each of these. I know you've already seen this, Christina. So, number 1, working hard equals success. So this invitation right here is to put your pencil down as I speak these. If you feel one in your body, and I'm going to send you this book so that you can go through this later. But the way that this works is you're not going in your story yet. You're going to feel it in your body and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's the one that doesn't feel good. Okay. So working hard equals success. Something like, I have to work hard to achieve financial success. I have to work hard to prove myself. I have to work hard for my value to be received. I should be paid well for working hard. People will not pay me what I'm worth. I do not need more than X amount of dollars per hour, per year, or whatever, if you're putting a limit on it already. My integrity is built on working hard. I should not be paid well for the things that come easily to me. I cannot be paid more than $100,000 a year, $1 million a year, 50,000 a year, whatever, just a limit. I cannot be paid more than X amount an hour. It is not right for me to charge X amount of money for my services. Okay, so does anybody resonate? Just hand up if you resonated with any of these. All right, Christina. Okay, this would be my big one. So, okay, the next one, money's not spiritual. I'm here to help people, not make money. It doesn't feel right to be paid for my natural gifts. It doesn't feel right to charge for helping others. It is not spiritual to want money. It is not spiritual or noble to charge a lot for my service. I do not feel spiritual when I charge a lot for my services. Spiritual people are poor. So as a health coach for many, many years and working with healers, I saw this all the time. It's like the martyr. Healers and coaches and those who don't really care don't make money. So it's like if you really care about people, you're not gonna like charge people. Blank, any profession is poor. Actor, yoga teacher, okay? Let's just say Jennifer Aniston's yoga teacher is not broke. I have friends, I just traveled to Hawaii. I have friends that are chefs that make 200 grand a year working like hard, like 4 months a year tops, chefing it up for really rich families. Like, so you can put anything you want there, but it's not true. It is not spiritual to be wealthy. I will lose my connection to God or grace, divine source, if I am wealthy. God doesn't, or grace or source doesn't need me to be wealthy. And money and spirituality do not go together. So anyone relate to this? No. Okay, that's good. I see it a lot in healers and coaches. Okay, number 3, money is evil. Money is the root of all evil. Wealthy people are bad. Money makes people greedy. If I become wealthy, I will only focus on money. I have to focus on money to become wealthy. Wealth equals money. Money creates problems. You can't trust people who make a lot of money. You can't trust friends if you make a lot of money. People will use me for my money. Money will corrupt me. Money is a bad influence. Money is bad. People with lots of money are selfish. People with lots of money are narcissistic. Money will corrupt my values. Money is not an honorable value. Anyone resonate with any of those? Like not a single one. Kind of? Okay. Kind of. Okay. Okay, beliefs about wealthy people. Wealthy people are born into wealth. They're well educated. They're fake, unauthentic. They only care about money. They're selfish. They're greedy. They're snobs. They're talented. They're lucky. They're dishonest, self-centered, or not spiritual. Anyone relate to that? Okay, so maybe some beliefs about wealthy people. Okay, scarcity around failure and debt. I feel out of control when it comes to money. There's never enough. I have shame in feeling poor. I'm not worthy of making good money. I'm not worthy of being paid well. No one will pay me for what I do. No one will pay me for my gifts. No one will pay me my worth. Debt is a sign of failure. Debt is a sign of shame. Debt is lack of maturity. Debt is a lack of responsibility. Debt runs in my family. All debt is the same. Others can be paid more for the same work, but not me. I am a failure because my income is too low. I am a failure because of debt. I am a failure because of bad investments. I am a failure because I trusted the wrong people. Whew, this is getting heavy. I am not worthy of making more than X dollars an hour or year. I don't feel worthy of making more than X amount of dollars. I won't feel worthy unless I make this amount. I won't feel worthy even if I do make this amount. Can you guys see where I'm going here? Like, it's not about the money, it's about your beliefs about yourself. I'm not worthy of investing in. I can remember somebody telling me they didn't have the disposable income to work with me. And I just thought, you are not disposable. I do not have a successful track record. so I can only invest this amount. I am not supported in making money. I am not supported in investing in myself. This can be that codependency a little bit. Money isn't sustainable. When it comes to money, it just goes out. When money comes in, it goes out just as quick. I don't have time to make money. It's too expensive to eat well, or anything's expensive. It's a word I've removed from my vocabulary because expensive means you don't see the value in the price. Everything is too expensive. I don't have any savings. So anybody relate to this? Okay. So if you look at these, a lot of it has to, so the deeper meaning under this is there might be some worthiness issues. So we're tying our worth to how much money we make, which we don't need to do. Or you have lack of trust because of scarcity or debt in the past. And you like, it can create that the codependency could show up here just to hide from shame or debt. Okay. And then lastly, my values and beliefs. People will see me differently if I make money. People will not trust me if I make a lot of money. People will think I'm selfish if I make more money. People will think I'm greedy if I make more money. People will laugh at me if I charge too much. People will laugh at me if I ask for a raise. My family will judge me if I make too much money. People will think I'm all about money if I charge too much. Who am I to charge X amount of dollars? People will think I'm special, or that I think I'm special if I charge too much. People will think I'm fake if I charge too much. People will envy me if I charge too much. People will use me if I make or have too much money. People will steal from me if I have too much. People will marry for money. People divorce over money. I'm only worth X amount of dollars. It's my birthright to become rich. It is not my birthright to become rich or wealthy. Money controls people. Money cannot be controlled. So anybody relate to this? Okay. Yeah, this would be a little bit more the people pleaser because it's thinking like worried about what everybody else thinks. Okay, I'm going to stop and we're going to go back to where we were. Oops, that's not. Same thing. Hold on. So I want you to write down the one that kind of hit you the most and just be curious about where that may have come from. You probably already know a little bit. Don't go too much into the story because the story isn't going to serve you. But just kind of think about like, what are the things that came up and where did that start? So if you have shame around debt, where did you first hear that? Did you hear it from mom or dad? If you believe you have to work hard for success, who were you trying to prove? And what were you trying to get? Were you trying to get love from a parent? Were you trying to get approval from somebody? Were you trying to get noticed? If you believe that wealthy people are bad, did somebody hurt you? Have you had an experience with a greedy person or somebody who just took advantage?
I know personally, my belief around debt is I put on myself as the shame that I didn't know any better. When I got into college debt, my parents didn't know any better. I'm the firstborn. It was just important to go to college. When in retrospect, I realized, oh, I didn't have to go there. The school of my choice was in New York, and that ended up being paid off faster than the other college. And then the one that keeps, I don't know if it's really my belief, but maybe because I was in a relationship with someone who kind of influenced me to think that wealthy people are more educated. And so I started to almost take on that same belief because I was in an intimate relationship with him, that I started to think that then when I'm around wealthy people here. And so I'm kind of in between, like where I realize that's not true, that just because they're educated doesn't mean they're also a certain kind of people, but it did affect me, and so it kind of is a conflict sometimes when I'm making my own hourly rate for my clients because I want to be accessible and affordable, but then I also don't want to sell myself short.
So I'm hearing two conflicting things. Number one, it's that you have shame around college debt, but then number two, it's that educated people are wealthy. So you are educated, and yet right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like they're all stories, like what you're saying conflicts.
Well, I think because I'm just trying to clear what is truth for me, and what I realize now, for me, the cultural story that I believed for so long, having to marry someone with money was how I would be
Mm.
secure. So now that's not true for me anymore. And so I feel like I'm in this transition of moving into how can I be independently financially stable for myself and not let the influence of, well, because I think higher education to me in this context is like, oh, I never finished the master's like most of my friends. I didn't
Oh,
quite.
so now it's higher education.
Yeah. It just went into higher education because like,
Okay, so now we're going from just college education to higher education. So now
yeah,
higher education people are wealthy.
yeah.
Although most people, I mean, most of the wealthiest people in the world didn't even go to college. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. In respect of time, I'm going to continue going because it's already 20 after 8. But I'd love to hear what's coming through for you guys after this. Thank you for sharing that, Deborah Lee, because I know that you're not alone. Like you have some cultural stuff coming up, which we all do. It all also the time that we were living in. So the next questions are, and you guys are going to get this, so you can dive deeper into this. And I really encourage you to journal around these things. But what beliefs did you hear about money growing up? Like I've decided to be really mindful not to use the word expensive anymore, because what I realize is expense. What that's saying is that's an expense that I don't see the value in. And so that's really what it means. If I say something's too expensive, that means I don't see the value for what that's being charged. That's really what that means for me. Just like I never say I'm busy anymore. Busy means misaligned. Expensive really means I don't see the value in it. That's really what it means. So I've noticed I used to say that a lot to my kids, and then I heard them say it. I'm like, they don't even know what expensive means. They don't even know what they would say it at a young age when they didn't even understand the value of money. All they knew was that something was expensive. So what beliefs did you hear about money growing up? And this is just to think, like, for a moment, like, did you travel? We never traveled. That's why I love to travel. That was not something that my parents saw value in. So it was too expensive. Was there enough? Was there constant stress? Deborah Lee shared, like, you marry somebody who makes good money. Well, that's going to create that codependent relationship right there. Like, it's going to hand it to you. Like, here you go. Here's your codependent relationship. The next question is, what choices or major decisions or life events have been affected by money? What choices did you make because you believed there wasn't enough? Or what choice did you make when an abundance came in? Were you responsible with it? Did you choose did you buy a house? Did you downsize? Did you, everybody has to look at money. Organic food versus non-organic food. Going on a retreat versus not going. Investing in yourself versus not. Yoga classes versus a $20 a month gym membership. Like, what does it, because that's going to show you where your values are. But what major, for example, I went to a college that was free. It was not free. I paid with my life because it was a military academy, but I went there because I was the oldest and I was really the only one that was probably going to get a scholarship. So I was like, I'm going to go for free, and they can, have more money for my brother and sister. It was just a decision that I remember thinking that. So what major decisions are like your just any decisions that you made. Money. Does anybody have one that comes up like a major decision they made that money affected it? No?
I mean, I would just say like, I did this earlier and I said like all of my life decisions. Like,
Yeah.
really.
I mean, time and money are the two biggest excuses I hear all the time. I don't have the time. That's why 3 people aren't here tonight, because they signed up, but they couldn't be here, or they don't have the money, which really just means I don't value that at this time, because I live in a world where if you see the value in something, there are resources available. If you're the source of money and time, there are resources available. What it means is you're not willing in that moment to align to that belief. That's what it's really saying. You aren't willing in this moment to believe it's possible. You're not embodying trust. Remember that embodied trust piece? So you have to shift here first. And you know what? You just practice it. You practice it, you believe it, and then you start to open up and trust, because you get more confidence, because it happens once and then it happens again and again and again. And you're like, oh, people actually are supporting me. Oh, I just manifested this nanny, and the mailman said hi to me today. The other day, like somebody was paying their person to do yard work because we had a hurricane. I guess it was a month ago. And they just came over and started like cleaning my house. I didn't have to pay for it. Just because I said good morning, it was nice to them. I was like, I'm receiving, like, thank you. I was like, good morning. They're like, would you like us to blow off your driveway for you? I was like, well, yes, I would. Whereas I used to be like, no, that's okay. I got it. And now I'm like, no, yes, please, more, and thank you. Okay, so recall a time of abundance or gratitude in your life. We did that earlier, but just you should be able to pick up something like this. If it's hard for you to pick up, then you really struggle with receiving. And then what happened in your life around lack of trust or scarcity? I mean, these are big things, right? Like betrayal, divorce is really hard. I've shared my story with many of you. I had a business partner who was my best friend, and we went into a lawsuit. That was deep betrayal, super painful. And that's how I created this course, because a lot was taken. So, yeah, so is anything coming through for you on this that anybody would like to share? Because sometimes typing it or speaking it really helps to put it into action. Go ahead, Christina.
Yeah, I was going to say, the one thing that comes up is, when you're kind of like looking at anything and like the layers of like what's kind of like at the center. So I see myself and so many other people. It's like the money is really kind of used as an excuse, but really what's under it is just like the feeling of like, I actually don't deserve it. I have that shame-based identity, like any of those like lower levels where it's like, it's not about the external stuff. It is really like the internal aspect of it. So it's like, even like when I said, oh yeah, I've made all my life decisions have been kind of driven by money, but it's really been driven just by like a low sense of self. And
Yeah.
money used as a very tangible and plausible reason why not to do something. Air quotes.
100%. Thank you for sharing that. And so what we begin to see is that this starts to show up in other areas of our life. How good am I at receiving help? How good am I at asking? How good am I at being like, I'm worthy? Like, no, I'm going to make my place look and feel amazing, just like me. I'm going to get it painted. I'm going to buy those things. I'm going to glam up. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to buy the luxury sheets, because I'm worth it. And like, we don't do that, because we're like, oh no, I gotta, sometimes we're so busy, we don't even create the time for it. So time and money, again, time, money, love, how you feed yourself, everything is speaking to your karmic blueprint. It is creating your imprint. And I want to invite you guys to rise up and step up to be the ancestor that your great granddaughter is going to be like, yeah, that lady, she just changed everything. Like Deborah Lee's talking about cultural stuff. Wouldn't it be great if your granddaughter, great grandniece, whatever, was like my Auntie Deborah Lee? She did this, she just shifted that. She shifted that, right? So that's what I want to invite you guys to do. And we're in this space because that's possible for us, because you don't come into this space if it's not. So a couple more questions, and Christine is exactly right. You're going to start to notice, well, I actually have a low sense of self-worth. So I believe I'm valued for what I do, not who I am. And guess what? I'm kind of a badass at it. Like, I'm really good at it. I'm really good at what I do. I'm really good at making money. I've had a lot of clients like this. I'm really good at everything I do. And it's a really glamorous survivor strategy. And then it's like, well, for what? Like, for what? Right? At the end of the day, it's like, but I'm still feeling unfulfilled. So now what? Or if you're the people pleaser, the overgiver, the rescuer, those are the money saboteurs we're going to go into, because they really highlight, we're not going to go into them today. It's in the prosperity course. But there's 7 money saboteurs. Like Christina said, money's just the tangible thing. But I'm guessing that whatever that is, if you're the rescuer, if you're the martyr, if you're the tyrant, or the fixer, or the penny pincher, or the saver, like the fixer, I don't know if I said that one yet. The free spirit is another one. You're having that same response in other areas of your life. Money's just easy because it's tangible. So whatever that relationship is with money that's showing up right now is actually showing you opportunities in intimacy, in relationships. If you're too busy hustling, there's not a whole lot of space to receive love. There's not. Because you're so hustling, grinding, I'm doing the thing, I'm, building this business. I'm like so focused on this. And yet here's this wonderful person over here trying to support me, trying to love on me, but I'm busy over here, type of thing. I mean, I've done it in my own marriage, because that is my one to work through. Is I've already had 2 health crises, like I've got it. And at the same time, if we go through the skills, gifts, and talents, like one of my talents is I'm a really quick learner and a great teacher. So I love to create space to, like, I love to do this work. I'm not just going to sit around and do nothing. And I want to be resourced so that I can continue to create more opportunities, if that makes sense. So here's some other questions I want you to sit with, and I'm going to send this to you guys. So, because I want you guys to really, the deeper you go into this and unpack this, you're going to notice it showing up in other areas of your life. And then you can just be aware of it and recognize it without attachment and without judgment. Like we've learned before, like we've done some of this work before, the sabotaging behaviors, same thing with money. So, but be curious, like, what sabotaging behaviors do you have in health, intimacy and love, and money? Just be curious about those 3 areas, because they are related, because they're all about self-love. Like, nourishment is an opportunity to nourish yourself. And receiving love, filling up. Receiving, being resourced by money, again, you have to be willing to receive. And it's literally creating your vibrational pattern. It's creating the imprint of you as a human on the astral level, the mental, the spiritual, the emotional, all the way down to the physical. It's imprinting every time you say something, every time you say anything about money or love or your health, like, it gets imprinted. So be very mindful of your words, your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions, really mindful, and just kind of just start. Like, I now hear words all the time. Let's just get rid of the words I'm busy. Let's get rid of the word expensive or I don't have, and words of lack. So we're just going to do one. What is one old money belief that you recognize that was imprinted on you that you're ready to reframe? We're just going to do one.
Well, definitely it's expensive. It's too expensive. I heard that constantly growing up. So you just hit the nail on the head for me. How to re how to not use that word moving forward, but ref
Yeah, so go ahead and write that down. And so we want to reframe that through the reticular activating system. So if expensive means that's an expense that I don't see the value in, then the way that we can reframe that, and I'll just share with you what mine is, and then you can come up with yours. But I choose to spend my money where my values are. That's what I say. I choose to spend my money where my values are. I spend a lot of money on food, a lot. I love food. Like, I love food, and I put no limits on my kids. Like, that is just the one thing, whatever they want, they get. Like my younger daughter, we just traveled. She's got like 4-course meal. And I'd love for you, if you're willing to just share and just keep it super clear, because another energy of prosperity is clarity. So clarity is like, we don't have to explain ourselves, because then we're seeking approval. We just say it and it is what it is. So I'm just going to invite you to say the old belief and your reframe if you have it. Anybody want to share?
Well, how about, this sounds maybe too broad, but don't waste money. I heard that a lot. Like, that's a waste of money.
That's such a good one. And I've heard myself say that before.
Ah,
Oh, I have, and it's so, and I hear it and I'm like, oh God, what a waste of
mhm,
money. Oh, there's no way, So how would,
mhm.
that's a heavy, thank you for sharing that. So what would that reframe be?
Yeah, because it also comes out like you don't deserve that in my head.
That's,
Yeah. Um, so I could just reframe it how you just said, like, I do deserve this. So to me, it's not a waste, or it's
perfect.
valuable to me. Yeah.
So I really want to celebrate you, Katie, because you just came full circle, and you actually went so deep as to uncover what the underneath was, like Christina was talking about. Like, you just
Mhm.
went there and you just did the whole thing. And you came full circle to the beginning of the call where you said you like you put everybody else first, and I don't deserve to get my place painted and buy the things that I want. And you just came full circle, realizing that that's a waste of money, somehow, maybe subconsciously turned into a thought that you weren't worthy, or you were undeserving of something, or that it was a waste of money to spend on you. And that hurts, because underneath the surface, that could feel like, well, I'm not worthy or deserving of spending that money on me. And now there are patterns that you've created around that. So super
Mhm.
awesome. From where we started the
Mm.
call, you just came full circle. So thank you for
Mm.
sharing.
Thank you.
And your homework is to find the place in you that feels worthy of deserving, and that that fullness and abundance, and go buy yourself something and let it, and almost like, let it just do it just because it feels good. I think, I mean, don't go spending like, a couple $1,000s, but like, if you want a new
Mm.
shirt, I would say my invitation for you is to do that and
Mhm.
feel good.
Okay. And maybe not go to Marshall's and do it.
Yeah,
TJ
maybe you
TJ
don't buy
Maxx.
something on sale, maybe you pay full price. That, yeah. And then
Mhm.
take a picture and send it to me.
Okay.
Yes. All right, Deborah Lee or Christina, do you want to share?
well, mine was already the expense one, so
Oh yeah, that's right. So what's your reframe?
oh, I like how you said
I know, but I want to hear your reframe.
um yeah, if that's too expensive, um well, I choose to invest in myself. Like I feel like I just choose to invest in myself.
Yeah.
Like Like my voice, going back to voice lessons and paying, I've never paid more than $150 an hour, but to pay anything beyond that is like, what? But it's worth it to me because I yeah, I just want to be strong.
That's how you're going to receive money. So in order to receive money in that, it's like you need to tell money, this is where the investment is. I'm putting energy in so energy can come out, and then more energy can come in. You know what I mean? Like throat chakra. So I think that's super awesome. How about you, Christina?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. I'm gonna have to call myself out on it. But so like just my mom was always asked how much does it cost, where there's like that underlying, just belief. That's just kind of like hinting at, like you shouldn't spend money, like, and that there's not enough money. And so like I wrote down like, it's worth more than the price tag, but that's also me avoiding conflict with my mother. So yes,
Okay.
I don't mean to end on like kind of like a loaded one, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's like how much it does it cost as that underlying belief of like, oh, like should you be spending, like why are you spending money on yourself or any of those things. So that's what
It kind of goes back to your choice too, that that Jen, you were talking about with Christina, or Christina, you said that about your choices. So it's like doubting your choice.
Yeah, you can see how it comes full circle, right? Because there was always the question that was initiated before the decision or the spending. And then, yeah, maybe there was a defense mechanism to create enough so that it didn't matter how much it costed, which I know you've had a history of like working hard to earn income, that is the thing. So yeah, that's a really interesting one. So like what comes up for you around the how much does it cost? So you're getting like this sort of like the worth is tied to the value.
Yeah, just like the whole like you don't deserve to spend money on yourself. It's just like it's just always like there's not enough money. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like the price is always overpowering the actual value of it.
Yeah. So it's kind of similar to that's expensive, but it's a little bit like passive aggressive almost. It's a little like sneaky, like
My family.
yeah, okay. Well, it's so interesting to hear all these because, I just think of like the thing, like how many times have we found ourselves saying similar things? And then do we want to believe those things? Like, so the question here is like, what do you want to embody? What do you want to believe? So things were projected onto us subconsciously. I've projected some of these onto my children, which is why I'm here. Like I am helping them to rewrite the story for them because I come from a family of like, well, yeah, there's never enough of anything. There's so much scarcity and it shows up in health. It shows up in love. It shows up in physical contact. It shows up in opportunities. I mean, this is the thing is you're either in abundance or scarcity consciousness. So we want to shift into abundance consciousness, which is embodied trust and believing that everything is available for you. Everything is available for you. And I really believe that if you see something, a possibility, you can't see something that's not there for you. It's just not possible. Like if you can already see it, give yourself permission to sense it and feel it, what you want. You want love, you want support, you want an amazing apartment that's painted with beautiful things. You want to fly first class. Like if you can see that, that's already there for you. The only thing standing in the way is you. And you know that. So we're going to come full circle and close today. I'm going to give you a little bit of homework. I'm going to recap kind of what we did today. So we talked about what prosperity consciousness is. We talked about the foundation of 5-element wealth. It's important to be well nourished, well resourced, well supported, well loved. Like the tree of prosperity is being resourced in many different ways. We talked about why is this important? Because you can be more creative. Christina can create opportunities for women. Kate can also, well, she can fix up her apartment. But then I forget, what was your why? Do you remember?
Because I deserve it. You mean, or
What was your why, and what would you do if you had more money? Did you say travel too, or?
oh, I actually didn't mention it, but
Oh, okay, that's why.
I said why leaving a legacy, like being able to give money back to
There you go.
community. Yeah.
So you have that bigger why. The bigger why, it goes beyond us. So that was the third thing we covered. The fourth thing we covered is we started to identify money blocks and the 6 basic categories: working too hard, shame and debt, shame around debt, and beliefs about wealthy people. And then lastly, we started to just understand, as Christina revealed, like money's just the tangible thing. And it's really showing us the part of us that is ready to, we'll just say, heal or expand or needs a little attention. So there were some pieces around worthiness, even just the empowerment piece of just taking ownership of what you want your beliefs to be. So your parents may have projected their beliefs onto you, but now you get to decide, is that true for me or not? Like, there's no way in hell I'm going to let, this is on a recording, but there's just not beliefs that I'm going to take from what I've been taught, what I was taught from my parents, that I'm passing on to my children. I'm not choosing that. So the empowerment piece is, what are you choosing to believe? So I'm going to leave you with a couple of quotes. If you want to experience prosperity at a miraculous level, you must leave behind your old ways of thinking and develop a new way of imagining what is possible for you to experience in your life. So it's that idea that we begin to make decisions based on who we want to be, not what we were taught and not who we've been. Today, with your words, with your thoughts, with your actions. So it starts shifting now, like right now. What you thought before this can shift right now. So you created a new money belief, each of you did. I'm going to invite you to create a couple more. Do a little homework around what are some other things that I've said that I'm ready to reframe, and write them down and practice them. Like, I no longer say things are expensive or I'm too busy, because it doesn't feel aligned for me anymore. It doesn't feel good. If I say I'm too busy, it's like, oh, no, I'm not. That's me giving my power away and making excuses. If if something's expensive, it means I don't see the value in it, or I don't believe I can be resourceful enough to pay for that. And I don't believe that anymore. I believe I can be resourceful enough to pay for an investment that I want to make. And then lastly, your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. So everything that we say and do matters. So as we close, thank you for being here tonight. I would like to invite you just to share a takeaway from tonight, if there's anything that comes through for you as you close.
So there's so much, it's hard to choose one, Jen.
Yeah, just
I don't
one,
want- yeah.
whatever comes up the tip of your tongue.
I would say just really identifying that the people pleasing and the scarcity mindset, how much that's my biggest block.
Yeah.
The takeaway for me was, you said about imprinting, and just that quote too, Gandhi, like our words. So every time I say things, even to myself, they go in there. So that's needs to be reframed.
I choose to reframe.
I choose to reframe, yes.
Yeah. Awesome. And what about you, Deborah Lee?
Yeah, because I remember in your podcast you talked about words of affirmation, or not words of affirmation, but our love languages are also reflective in this capacity. And so that kind of resonated with me. And for me, similarly, is just rewording, reframing my beliefs is how I speak about it. And can I believe it on top of that? Believing and applying.
Yeah, so the believing part on a deeper level is beginning to feel it in your body. So it's really like finding the place where you just believe it just a little bit. If you can find it just a little bit, like start honing in on that and expanding that. Because if it's already in there somewhere, it's already true. But what you've been doing is paying attention to the wrong thing. You've been paying attention to what's not serving you. So start giving more intention to what you want to be true. Because it's already true, what you want more of, more abundance of. All right, we're going to close for tonight. And I'm going to send you the prosperity roadmap ebook, and then the list of money blocks that we went through tonight. I also want to invite you to join the prosperity course, where we continue to dive deeper into this. This will be the second time I'm running the course. It's going to run on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Starting the 16th, we're doing like a little kickoff on 11/11, but we'll start Wednesday nights at 7. And the course right now is only $2,200 because it's fairly new. It's going to go up to its full value to $4,000 in 2023. So right now, what the offering is that if you join, I'm also giving you a complimentary, or I guess an included, like private roadmap session where we're going to dig deeper into this, like deeper. I want to go deeper into the shadow work of the stories so that we can really release it. And I've had some women already that have signed up for January, and they've paid because they want the lower price. But I am offering it once before then. If the holidays aren't aligned for you, you're welcome to sign up now and join in January, or we begin in November, and then the second time we'll begin in mid-January when this one completes. What we will continue to do is expand upon your money story. We're going to get into the 7 saboteurs. We're going to get into the art of receiving, which shows up in many areas of life. We're going to get into the frequency of wealth. We're going to cover the 4 levels to financial freedom. And then we're going to end with creating your legacy. So the legacy it just means creating that impact that literally shifts. Like I keep thinking of, I'm going to be somebody's ancestor someday. Like I'm owning that. That's a privilege to be someone's ancestor. And so what do I want my kids to believe? What do I want the world to be like? And so how am I going to start shifting that now? And maybe it's too far to think that far ahead, but it could just be, whoever you have an impact on, whether you have children or not. It could be a niece. It could be the people you work with. It could just be the collective. But really thinking about, that sort of because that's how things change. That's the way that change occurs. So that's my invitation. The invitation to join Prosperity will close on the 14th because we begin on the 16th. So you have until then to make that decision. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, any questions before we go? That time went by really, really fast. So yeah, and I was just teaching about relationship with time in my other course, because the time reflects the money as well. Well, thank you for being with me tonight. I hope you all have a really, really good night, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks, Jen.
You're
Nice to meet you
welcome.
guys.
Good night.
Thanks, Jen. Nice meeting y'all.